Thank you. Hi Ashish, hi all. Hi Kishore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just share my screen and start the session. So today we'll learn next half of uh, next part of our Linux topics. So what yesterday I showed you, I'll just recap that session. So I've showed you how do we connect to AWS EC2 in different ways. I've showed you how do we launch to EC2, Windows EC2 in AWS. How do we create a machine in VirtualBox, and these are all the commands we have seen. So I have given a task called creating a machine in VMware Hyper-V. Did anybody got a chance to do that? Okay. Okay, no problem. Can you, I mean, try to do it today, because you will be seeing these guys in industry when you come to industry. Hyper-V, VMware, VirtualBox is only for practice. So I'll suggest you guys and create a virtual machine in these two hypervisors.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. I think Venkatesh can share you that recording, right? Okay. And apart from this, so Ashish, did you tried running these commands?
Yes, Santosh. Yeah.
Okay, any doubts there?
Yeah, yeah, Santosh. Yesterday video other day shared, I think I uploaded,
Okay,
and the first session is there now.
so day two,
Something.
you do it like that, no? Day one, day two, and day three, like that.
Yes, yes, like that I mentioned, like session
Okay,
one,
okay,
session two, like that.
okay.
I uploaded session two, but coming to session one, what happened? Like there, your like your ATM card details, something is there now.
Mm-hmm.
I will edit. After that, I will upload that session one video. Okay.
Okay, no problem. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
thank you.
Yeah.
So now today we'll cover next part of our Linux topics. So today our first topic is how the file system structure of Linux is designed. Okay, so for that I have a image downloaded. So are you able to see the image?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so let me log in also to the instance. Connect SSH. So I did not explain to you about this command, right? So SSH is nothing but we are doing logging into Linux EC2. Hyphen I is nothing but we are providing our PIM key to the EC, which we have downloaded it in last step when we launched the server. EC2 hyphen user is nothing but the local user created at this server, and this is the server name, server DNS name. Here you can provide your the IP address of server as well as DNS server of DNS name of server or host name. When you come to know, when you go to the industry, you will get host names instead of IP address. So host name is nothing but the mm, name to the system, right? So you can't remember IP address anytime, right? So host name is easy to remember. So they will set up host name and they will give you to log in. For logging into EC2, they will give you a host name. So now I'm logging. Okay, so I am logged in now. So suppose if you go to cd slash, okay, you will see these many file system structure, right? So slash means nothing but the root directory on which only root will have access. See, every directory only root has access, full access to the root. Other user can't actually write and actually other users can do the things like read and execute, but can't write here in the system file in these systems. So tmp is nothing but the temp folder in Linux, temp directory in Linux. So in temp, if I mean it doesn't matter if anyone writes or anything, because it will be cleaned up after 7 or 10 days. It depends on cron or os which you are using, right? Okay. So tmp directory will get cleaned up, so nothing doesn't matter whether it has access to everyone or not. Okay. After that we can see this is related to libraries which are like you are using commands, right? These commands will have libraries associated with these directories. With these directories called USR and library 64 and library 32. Maybe 32-bit will go into this, 64-bit will go into this. So that's why it has access to everyone. Okay. Now coming to other directories like /bin. What do we keep in /bin? So basically /bin is meant for binaries, user related commands. Like we do have three types of, I mean, next point is like what is super user, system user, local user, and domain user, right? So super user is nothing but only root. Linux, every Linux will have their super user. So if you go sudo -su and hit enter, so what it will do, it will enter to root. So this user will have every rights on system. I mean, whatever he has to do, he will do. I mean, so it's better to keep this user. I mean, never. It's in the industry. What happens? You will not get access to root directly. You will get access to your user. Like suppose I have my user created as SG something called employee ID of company. So they will give you user ID access, and then they will provide you sudo access in here cat etc sudo file. etc sudo dot d. Here they can provide it. Otherwise they will create another file called see 90 cloud init users got created. See here EC2 will have is this visible, guys?
Yes.
Okay. So here if you say already a cloud, I mean, it happens while you create a cloud servers. So what they have done is in their user data while initiating the server, they have given a command called to create a file and create a user called EC2 user and mention it like this, so that EC2 user will have same permission as of root. But uh, I mean, it will not, it will have full permission, but you just run a commands with sudo. You just need to run a commands with prefix as a sudo, because it is mentioned in sudo file. It is just like sudo to root. Yeah. So root is nothing but a super user which will have all access. Now coming to file system structure. So /bin will have user commands, right? So whatever normal users like on system where everyone will be not administrator, right? So EC2 is kind of administrator, EC2 user, and we'll create some servers if a developer wants access on that EC2, right? And on shared directory. So we'll not give developers the admin access, right? So So the normal commands like ls -l, then cd, ls, lsld, ls, these are the normal command, df. Okay, after that cd, right? So these are the normal commands will be stored in this directory. Yeah, and these will be accessible by your normal users. Then coming to slash boot is nothing but your boot. The partition which stores your static files and your boot bootable files, right? So suppose you, I mean, if you are starting the machine, there should be a bootable files which will load your OS, right? Yeah. So that is the purpose of slash boot. Slash dev is nothing but, I'll show you this one, cd slash dev. So see here there are many files like ls, blk. See, you have xvda. We have when we have launched the server, we have selected one EBS to the machine, right? 8 GB of EBS. So if you wanted to uh, look out that file, it will be stored in this one, xvda. See, dev xvda. Whatever EBS and I mean device files are there, like terminal files also there, those will be stored in slash dev, that is device files. Okay, coming to the next file, system directory, it's etc. Slash etc is nothing but the whatever configuration related file, right? Suppose you have to restart your network service, right? So suppose I'll just give you one example. etc, if you went into etc ls, do ls. So all cron job related, suppose you have to schedule some schedule task, so you need to use cron. Apart from that, if you have to use any restart any ne- uh, sorry, networking service, so it will be stored here. Any service related files and any kind of configuration file will be stored here. Suppose I will take example of fstab. Fstab is the file where your device details will be stored to once you, I mean, if you don't mention it here, right? So what will happen once you reboot, once we have removed this file from here, once you reboot your server will not come up because the mount will not happen, mount will not happen, sorry. Okay, so mount will not happen because we have removed this file from here. So this is configuration file for your device IDs to be mounted on this directory. So we have 8 GB of device ID, right? And this is nothing but the UUID, unique ID for that device name, that is called slash dev slash xvda. And it is always good practice to mention unique ID here, so that I mean, generally unique ID will not change, but device name can change, right? So that's why we use UUID here. And this is second. This is the second column of this. This is nothing but your file system where you wanted to mount this disk. Then this is the file system type on with which you wanted to mount, and these are nothing but the attributes of the time. And these are the checks whether system wants to check it while rebooting or not. So for slash we always keep it as 1 1, for other you can keep it as 0 0. So if we keep 0 0, then it will not check for while booting. So nothing like I was talking about slash etc, right? So slash etc is nothing but the host system. It contains files which are like configuration related files. I'll also show you the file which is network related, etc network. See, here I can see the network related configuration like default loopback address and then link address. Also, I'll show you /etc network sysconfig network hyphen scripts. Sorry. Apart from that, so we saw that how do we check the IP address, right? And from where we are getting that IP address, it's ifcfg eth0. So see, from here they have, I mean, we if we are doing it in on-prem server, we need to edit this file on by ourselves and do the things, because on-prem server will not have a DHCP and things like that. If those are there, then we don't need to, but in cloud it is already there. So what will happen, will get IP address automatically if we enable your boot prototype it's DHCP. So cloud will dynamically, it will be the IP will be assigned to your EC2. So on boot, yes, means whenever you are booting, this machine will get automatically the IP address. So only two three things to remember here: on boot, DHCP, ETH0, the name of device. So if you see here IPA, right? So these things are coming from here, this file. Okay, so these files are nothing but configuration files stored in etc. So this is the purpose of etc. Next, coming to home. So every Windows, if you I you know about Windows, right? Every user will create their profile in Windows. So suppose administrator, and I have this profile created for my user. So similar, every Linux system will also create their user profiles. So yesterday we have created one user called test, right? So it got created. I mean, the folder for test got created automatically, and EC2 we already have created. So /home is nothing but your home data. I mean, users data, home profile, you can say, stores. uh, After that, coming to library, I already told you it only stores libraries related to the commands which they calls uh, when we hit cd, it calls something else, right, from library. So that linking and that linked files are stored into the libraries. So coming to the media, like if you have to attach any, generally we don't attach any media to the servers, but if you are on-prem server, then you might need to do that. Then this is the media where your pen drive or anything, hard disk, external hard disk will get mounted. Okay, so /mnt is nothing but I mean, whenever you are, say, like suppose now I have only one hard disk connected to this EC2, right? Suppose I have created another EBS and attached it to this as a XVDB. Okay, and I need to mount it. So generally you can mount it on any drive, but by default people use this mount drive to mount file system. Okay, so you can mount it on any drive whichever you want, but people use this as a by default mount point system. So /opt is nothing but a third party application will get installed on this, just like suppose for log analyzer, Splunk is the famous tool, right? So Splunk agent will get stored here in OPT. Just give me a minute. So slash opt will get almost third party vendors agents like Ansible, like Chef Puppet, like Splunk UF, like things like that will get stored in opt. Apart from that, we do have sbin as a directory. I'll show you opt first. So now I don't think so we do have any yeah, AWS is also third party agent for this OS, right? So that's why AWS agents are also going to store here, right? So though these guys have some tools, internal tools for this OS, so those are getting stored in here. So that is purpose of opt. Then coming to sbin, sbin is nothing but the system binaries. So whatever super users commands are there, like administrator command are coming from here. So suppose you have to like restart any service, you have to create any user, those commands are coming from here, not from here, right? These are for normal user, this is for system, I mean super user. Okay. Then srv is nothing but the um, it stores your service data of system. Slash tmp is nothing but the temporary folder or files. It will store your temporary files created for any executions. Suppose any application is creating any temporary files, it will store here, and that application needs it because without that temporary file creation it will not start or what, things like that. So those files will be stored in tmp and will get cleaned weekly or 10 days, it depends on cron job. So yeah, apart from that, yeah, we have user directory, which is nothing but this uh, user directory will contain this library folder. So nothing but the applications and utilities you install, it will go here, and you the commands you hit, it will link here, it will be linked here. I mean when you hit, whenever you hit, it will call the libraries and applications from here. Then slash proc is nothing but your processes information. It store your processes. So every service will have process, right? So suppose how do we check the process? It's ps hyphen ef, right? And suppose like see, this is the system d, like this is the command which got ran, I mean by default these are by default commands, and which has pid of one, right? So PID is nothing but process ID. This will get this data will go get stored in where slash proc. So cd slash proc. So see, there are so many PIDs, 110 like this. Okay. So with this we are done with file system hierarchy. Any doubts, guys? Here, any questions? If no, I can go for next. For systems user, so super user, I think I have explained you. The root is nothing but the super user, and now I'll show you how do we I mean what is the systems user and what are the local user and what are the domain user. So if you see a file called etc password, right, which will be a file which will have users information, right? So username, then user these columns are user related columns. Last one is this one, the profile bash profile for, I mean login profile for that user created. And then last one is I mean what purpose it is created. No, this is for your home directory. I mean what is the home directory for that user. Second last one is what is the command, I mean what is the purpose for that user. Just like you can see here, ec2 default user. So this one is nothing but your gid, group id of that user. This is nothing but the user id of that person, and this is nothing but your password will be hidden here, so you can't see your password. This is your password for that user. So we have created test user, right? And we have selected 1234 as a password. So yeah, this will second field is password. So see here, I mean, by default users are here created already. We haven't created, and it got created automatically. So the systems user are nothing but by default created users, just like daemon, admin, sync, shutdown, halt, operation. Any service if you install, it will create a user called that user is nothing but the systems user. Okay, coming to local user, as we have created a test, right, on locally on this server, so it got created, right? So this test user is nothing but local user. This is also local user. This not created by system. It got created when your system get boots using user data. User data is nothing but when you start your system and you wanted to do something on the system before you get access on the system, right? So suppose you have to start application, you can't just wait for system to operate. While starting itself, you should start an application, right? So that no downtime will be there for customers, right? So so that is nothing but the user data. And okay, so coming to local user, I think I explained you the user got created locally is nothing but the local user. So it will start from 1001 as a um, GID, UID and GID. So you can mention your GID and your UID before that as well. But generally, if you don't mention, by default it will create it 1001, and zero is specified reserved for root. From 0 to 99, I think it is reserved for your systems user, right? Systems user will not have a login profile, so they can't log into the system directly, as we done for EC2 user, right? 1 to 99 GID and PIDs are reserved for systems user. I think then 100 to 500 are defined for your service users, right? So if you suppose I have we have installed your what it called, we have installed RPC, no, RGND, NFS. So NFS is nothing but your third party services, right? Crony, it is nothing but your third party services which has IDs below 1000. So after 1000 your local user will come, and below 1000 your systems user will be there, and zero is nothing but reserved for your root. That means super user. That is why it called as super user, because it is first user created on server. Okay, where we are, yeah. So domain user, suppose now we have hundreds of server, right? And you have tests, I mean you have to create a local user, right? And I mean you can't go and do the creation on hundreds of servers, right? So what will happen in general industry, you will have domain controller. It's a Windows concept. You will have domain controller, and you will have your so let me show you. I'll show you my domain. So see here, the my domain name is global.com. So my uh, user, I mean my user got created in domain. Uh, that's why I have access onto this EC, onto these laptops, right? And in general, if they have to manage this hundreds of users on the EC2, right? You can't create locally and manage it, right, in proper way. So there should be a centralized way where we can manage these users. So suppose I mean employees comes and goes into the company, right? So they can't go to the servers each and individually and delete the user or expire the I mean remove the user from there. So it is very difficult to manage. That's why domain users comes into picture. So what will happen, your machine will be associated with that domain controller. Suppose you have company called accenture.com, so they will have domain called accenture.com or accenture.local or something like that. So these machines will be associated with that domain, and if the user got created on that domain at Windows. So in Windows there is a concept called Active Directory. I'll explain you in in Windows sections of us. So so there is a service called Active Directory. With that, Active Directory is nothing but a service which maintains your users centrally. So suppose you have 10,000 employees in company and you need to maintain that users somewhere, right? So Windows have domain controller as a service, and inside that ADDS as a service. So that ADDS service which maintains that 10,000 employees data, I mean user IDs and passwords. So you can't just change your password. They will have reset link, but so they will share set a policy of 3 months to reset your password. So you will get a notification to reset your password. So that doesn't matter. So but my point was what is domain user. So I think I am explained it clear. So domain user is nothing but the domain user created a domain which will be a Windows Active Directory service, and it is very easy to manage, and it will be like it won't show you here because it is domain user, but you will be able to log in, and the home profile also will got created. Because I don't have a domain created here, I need to create an Windows EC2 for that, and I'll set up it and I'll show you how do we do that in our Windows section. Okay, now we are done with super user, system user, local user, and domain user. Any doubts here? Okay,
No, Santosh.
okay, so now how do we install Apache, and what is Apache basically? So suppose you have to build an application, right? And host it on server. So suppose a developer build an application in your PHP based application, right? So for that we need an Apache as a web server, right? So Apache is nothing but a web server which will host your PHP based applications. PHP, Python, let it be any code, but no, not .NET. So I'll take example of PHP. So when you install, I mean, when you want to host it on server, EC2 server, you need to install it like this. Install HTTPD. HTTPD is nothing but the daemon. So see here, HTTPD is getting installed, and yum is the command to install any package. So if you don't hyphen if you can use this y here as well, -y, it will not ask you here is this okay or not. It will just install for you. Okay, so it got installed. Now I'll show systemctl status httpd. So by default it will not start. So systemctl is nothing but the command to check your service, right? System and then your action, what you wanted to do, restart, start, stop, status, disable, enable, right? After that, HTTPD is a service name, right? Daemon name or service name. So we have installed HTTPD, so that's why we use this. Oh, I'll try to start it. Now we'll check the status. So it says it is running, but in when we go to our AWS EC2 and check for your networking section, no, security, sorry. So incoming port, we have just opened it for 22, right? And HTTP runs on 80. So we need to go and edit this inbound rule in security group. So here you can see inbound routes. So security group is nothing but in which you can mention what ports you need to allow for world and what ports I mean for inbound and outbound rules. So if you mention here 22 I need to allow, so it will allow traffic on 22. If you mention 80, like here you can see HTTP as a protocol, right? It will automatically take 80 and then custom and then 000, right? So save rules. So if you go and take the IP address of this one, you will be able to see the Apache page, test page, right? See, that's how it works. I'll just close this traffic because so many hits it will come onto this EC2 because it is open for world and we don't have HTTPS securely, right? It's a nothing. AT we don't in general industry AT we don't open it for world. So just this is for practice. So we don't have any certificate with us. So HTTPS we can't open. If you reload this, it will be gone. Okay, it is not coming means it is gone, right? It is not accepting the traffic on that port yet. So remember this port of HTTPD, it will be it is very important and it will be asked you in interviews. So this is nothing but the Apache service, and how do we stop that as well? I'll show you. Systemctl stop HTTPD. So it is taking time, maybe because we don't have that resources. I mean that much resources, right? After that, I'll show you how do we create another EBS on yeah, on AWS and attach it to what is happening. Yeah, it got deactivating. Yeah, it got stopped, and it was taking time because we don't have that much resource, right? One GB, one CPU, and 1 GB RAM is there. So now I'll show you how do we create. Sorry. Uh, I'll show you how do we create another EBS and mount it on EC2. So now go to volumes. Now create a volume, maybe of 8 GB, another 8 GB. Before going, you should always check your EC2's availability zone. When we come to know, when we come to AWS, AWS class, I mean start AWS sessions. we'll come to know what is AZ availability zone. So here you can check it. It's US East 1A, right? So same region you have to create the volume as well, because from another region it will not get attached to. You can't attach from it from another region. Snapshot ID not needed. Encryption generally in industry we do this, but now not now here. So create a volume. Once you created this, just action, go to the action, attach volume, and just here if you select here, I mean you will be seeing the, if you have many instances, just don't go directly, just go copy your instance ID here and paste it here. As we have only one, so it will be not confusable. But if you have many, I mean in industry, in will have 50 plus 10 plus like those server, and it will be like uh, not very easy to find that server. So better to copy your instance ID going into there in EC2 console, and then enter it here. Now you can say attach. So when you say a state is in use, that means it got attached. When you detach it, right, it will be in available state, right? It will be like not in use. Okay. Now we'll go to EC2 LSBLK. If you do LSBLK, LSBLK is nothing but your list block devices. I mean whatever devices it's connected, it will show you like one two disk, whatever three four, how many disks are connected. This command will show you list of devices connected to the EC2. So we have just now corrected XVDF, right? So mount hyphen. So first of all, I think before mounting, as this is block storage, right? Block storage is nothing but a storage which we need to format first with file system called XFS or EXT. So general whatever in general practice, we use latest file system, that is XFS. Just give me a minute. Okay, so we need to format it with XFS. So mkfs.xfs is the command, and then /dev xvdf. So see, it got formatted with XFS. Now if you do again lsblk, it will not show you the file system. I think we need to mount it and then show it will show you. So then you can mount it on, I think we have created one folder called shared, right? Shared cd slash small shared. Okay, so we can mount that disk on this onto this folder. So mount hyphen t xfs, hyphen t is for file system type, and we have used xfs as to format that system, uh, format that hard disk. And now give your dev xvdf. Okay, and give your uh, path, absolute path where you want it to mount. So we have to mount it on shared. So see now to check how if it is mounted or not, then just check capital T df hyphen ht. So if you see here, it got mounted on shared. And if you see file system type is XFS and the size is 8 GB, is use this 41 MB. By default some data was there, and availability it's, I mean 8 GB. So and use percentage also you can see it. So this is how we mount your uh, your EBS storage. But if you reboot your service, if you reboot your server, it will go, because you did not mention it in fstab file, right? So so init6 is the command to reboot your server, and then etc fstab is a file. I think I already explained you guys. I'll so what I need to do, if you don't want to unmount that just now created EBS volume, you need to mention it here. So what we'll do, you need a UUID for that user. So blk id is the command. Blk id is the command to check that UUID. So see here, you can see the UUID. Now you can go and edit fstab. So first of all, I will show you, I mean, if it get unmounted or not, I'll reboot the server. Okay, so init6 is the command to reboot, and there is an alternative command as well to reboot the server, that is reboot. Okay, it will take a couple of minutes. You can also reboot it from console as well. Apart from that, man, we have so many topics to cover. Okay, service management, I think we covered. That is systemctl, and then stop. I mean, whatever action you wanted to, and then service name. Understanding of this file we have covered. Vim editor, I will cover it now. So the service did not, EC2 did not started yet. Yeah, it got started. Now what you wanted to do is switch to root and then df-st. Now see that got unmounted, right? So now just directly go and edit your fstab file, and no, I need a UUID for that. I think here it is. Copy it, vim/etc fstab. So UUID. So I mean, editing in vim also I'll show you. If you have to go to the last column of this, once you are enter into file, if you have to go up to the last here, just press shift A, okay, the capital A, so that you will go to the last column of line. Okay, then enter and do whatever you want to do. So what I have copied is UUID, then copy it here, then mount point of yours shared, then XFS, and this keep it default, copy and then paste. And as I told you that for other device it doesn't need checks, so keep it 00. It doesn't it's not necessary you keep it in sync manner. It's just my style to do that. So now if you remember, if you reboot the server again, it will be mounted. Okay, apart from that, I don't think so. This one is done, this one is done, this one is done. Okay, modifying file permission, I'll cover now. These three things I can cover tomorrow. Okay, so now you have to check it if it is mounted or not. df-kh or th, it's the command to check it. So h is nothing but human readable and k is nothing but to size and percentage. So I think yeah, we can see it here, right? Shared got mounted automatically. So cat etc fstab is nothing but the important file. So if it will come in your daily case, right? And it is being used in your Docker containers as well. So make it a note so that you'll not forget. Now next thing, modifying permission for directory and files, right? So I'll go shared. We'll create some file, touch file. Now by default it will create with 644. That is, so 644 means R comes with four as a digit, W comes with 2, okay, X come with 1. So 4 2 1 means 7, right? So RW means 6. 4 plus 2 6, 4 and 4, right? So yesterday I told you this is for user, this is for you group, and this is for others, right? Suppose you have to change it to accessible, it should be accessible for users and group, right? So suppose you have to change it to 774, right? So chmod is the command to do that. 774 file, right? You can see it, right? And it will change if you have executed execute permissions on file, it will change its color to green. If you don't have execute permission on file, it will not give you color called green. Okay, suppose you have to, similar command is for directory as well, right? But if you have directory and you have so many files created inside that, mkdir test, okay, and inside test touch your file 1 to 10, okay, and now all files got created with 644, right? And you wanted to change it within one command. So chmod -r, it's recursively 774 and then test folder name, right? So see here, folder name permission got changed, and if you enter into, no need to enter into inside the folder ls-l, you just you can just do test and see the permission. See, you can also see the permission of any folder using ls-l and mentioning its absolute path. Suppose you have to see the permission for sysconfig and then network scripts and start. You can see it like this. So under network scripts, if there are so many files, just go with star. It will show you the permission of that file. So chmod is the command to change the permission. This digit depends on requirement, right? So whatever requirement given by application installation document or developer or your teammates, you might get request be key, you need to change this permission of this file, or you need to change the permission of this folder. So it depends on application installation, whatever application you are installing on EC2. So that's how it works. So chmod is nothing but the command. Apart from that, we can also change the root owner and group of that user. So chown is nothing but the command to do that. And suppose you have to do owner as a EC2 user, right? So EC2 hyphen user, then colon, first part is for user, second part is for group. So test. Okay. Now if you do, it will change. If you do LL, now if suppose you have to change only user, not group, then go like this and root test LL. Okay. So now only if you have to change it only user, so keep group filled empty and just go here test, because test is also our user created earlier. So yeah, this is how the files and directory permissions will be changing, and we can change owner and group too. So yeah, this is I think we are out. I mean, we are on time. These three things, and I mean, we'll have 5 to 6 lectures of Linux, because this is very Linux is very important for DevOps, as it will be coming into your Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, not Jenkins, Ansible, and your Kubernetes as well, the commands. So that's why I'm more focusing on starting of Linux. So yeah, we are done with today's session. I think I'm on time, and I supposed to complete this, but as I'm going into deep and wanted you guys to understand the things very clear, so I'm getting little delay. So sorry for that, but yeah. Okay. Any questions on these topics, guys? If you don't understand anything, you can ask.
I think we need to just practice these commands, Santosh.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Okay.
that
Sure.
we will let like we'll get like whether we are able to like perform the commands or not, like we would understand or not.
Okay. Sure. Sure, Ashish. I'll what I'll do is I'll take some of my time today and keep a notepad thing ready, and as per the session, and I'll give it to Venkatesh. Right? They will send it to you guys. I mean, they can upload it same where they are uploading the recordings.
Okay.
What is
Yeah.
there in this property file? See how I am
Yeah.
going to read this particular property file. The library is a different class.
Okay. I think we are done. Any doubts? Any questions? If you have any, you can ask. Otherwise, we can wrap up for today.
Those are like starting of the
Kishore,
report, start extent report and reading property file. So
Can
what are the
you mute
containings that the
yourself? I
property
mean,
file?
there is a
This
lot of background noise.
is the property file which I have shown you before. This is a
Okay, guys. So I don't think so. There are questions. Once I get this document, I mean, I'll send it to Venkatesh, and then he can send it to guys. So yeah, I mean,
Chrome
that's
browser.
all for today.
Here,
Thank you.
Firefox. You
Thank you,
launch
Santosh.
Firefox browser.
Thank you, guys.
We are given here.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Based upon the information that I have